Things DA4 and BioWare should learn from Baldur's Gate 3. First, ever since Dragon Age Origins, BioWare's CC has been steadily improving over time, adding more options for various features and, recently in Inquisition, even sliders for most facial parts you could think of. But something they always seem to have regressed in rather than progressed are hair and facial hairstyles. While in Origins we got thematically and at the time technically appropriate cuts, in Inquisition we got what feels like 50 shades of fades. Meanwhile the beards tend to just look off. They tend to go with one main style and then just add varying stages of joblessness. And unless you go for the third stage, the beard tends to look like it's distantly related to Swiss cheese. Do you see this, BioWare? Look how nice proper hair and beard can look like. While only having options of preset faces, you can still make them all look good by pairing them with proper hairstyles. And lord did they give us some gorgeous ones, ranging from classic long-haired styles to modern fades and undercuts. Are you taking notes yet? Second, I've touched on this in my previous video on how Baldur's Gate feels like Dragon Age Origins, but the feeling of companionship was completely lost in Inquisition. Rather than the experience of traveling together with a group of people that form a bond over time, in Inquisition, selecting your party felt more like choosing soldiers that have more voice lines than the default ones. Even in Skyhold, where you have to run a marathon between talking to each of them, you feel more like a messenger boy than a friend, let alone Inquisitor. Like genuinely, in the time it takes for me to run between each and every one of my companions after a main quest, I grow old enough to run for President of the United States. Dorian even makes a comment about how you run around checking up on everyone and why you do that. Meanwhile in Origins and Baldur's Gate, you could, in theory, call out from the other end of the camp in a slightly higher than normal volume. You just feel more connected. They feel like companions, not foot soldiers in your army. Third, when was the last time you felt like your choices mattered in a Dragon Age game? They made a whole big deal of importing your DAO save file into Dragon Age 2, but in the end it affected very minor parts, altering a few voice lines or giving you this unimportant side quest rather than that one. The choices in Dragon Age 2 also had next to no impact as a whole. In the end, you had to kill both Meredith and Orsino. In the end, the Mage Templar War started regardless. In the end, Hawk vanished, no matter what. No matter your choices, it all boils down to essentially the same ending. Does that sound familiar? Your choices in Inquisition feel cosmetic at best, inconsequential at worst. What do you actually affect? You can alter the number of available companions, and whether you fight a brat with dental problems or a crackhead. Other than that, they all feel like illusionary choices. An alliance with the Qun, you know, a one-of-a-kind, first-time thing happening in Thedas, does absolutely bugger all. In the end, the Qunari invade regardless. Investigating Corypheus' family and history does nothing. In the end, you kill him anyway, no matter your choices. Even in the early access of Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like my choices have more impact and meaning than in the entirety of the last two Dragon Age games. I can alter the entire course of my journey through dialogue choices. Ally myself with goblins rather than the refugees? Done. Fight through an entire town of goblins. Coerce them into letting me pass or simply sneak around it. Take your pick. Killed an NPC because you didn't like how they talked to you. Sure did. Will it screw with my future quests? Who knows? But I made a choice, and I have to bear the consequences, for better or worse. One example of choice and consequence that comes to mind is something that happened to me on stream, where I made a deal with a swamp hag, which caused me to have a permanent debuff for the rest of the game, preventing me from critting. And that's something that happens in the first act of the game. Creating worlds of adventure, conflict and companionship that inspire you to become the hero of your story. Know where that's written? BioWare's homepage. And yet, I can't shake the feeling that BioWare have lost their touch with that statement. I didn't feel companionship, nor did I feel like I was the hero of my own story. After the first time playing Inquisition, it feels like you're working through a schedule, rather than adventuring, exploring and living with your choices. It feels like I'm a mouse forced through a labyrinth where my only choices are to go left or right, but in the end it doesn't matter since no matter which way I go, I end up with my cheese. Give me poison rather than cheese. Let me climb the walls rather than go left or right. Let me make my own choices and bear the consequences. Alright, this video got a bit more philosophical than I expected it to be, but I hope you can see my points here. I love the Dragon Age series. It's what made me start doing this whole stuff. But I'm not blinded by that love. I can recognize the shortcomings of the recent games and accept them. All I can do is hope that they will give me back that sense of wonder and excitement which I felt in Dragon Age Origins.